Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last webinar of the EI Expert Series for the year. The topic being lessons from 2025, what really worked in learning, workplaces, and AI, conducted by EI, powered by MPS. We thank you for joining us today. EI is a leader in emotionally intelligent learning design, helping clients navigate digital transformation. With over 30 plus years of experience that we carry, we create award winning solutions that drive performance and maximize return on investment and return on effectiveness. From strategy to development, we navigate through different customer solution requirements, and we work with customers across the globe to ensure we give training investments the results that they're looking at. With that, here is the agenda for our discussion today. And we'd like this to be an interactive webinar, like always. So to ask questions to the panelists, please use the Q&A option on your control bar. The chat option is also open, and we really hope you will share your thoughts and experiences as we go along in the webinar today. Your feedback and perspective on what we present today and your own experience Am I still audible to everybody else?
Can hear you now.
Continue. So I would just repeat the agenda and the interaction. We want this to be an interactive session from yourselves. So you have the Q&A option where you can ask questions directly to the panelists. The chat option is also open on your control bar, and you can share your thoughts and experiences as we go along in the webinar today. Your feedback and perspective on what we present and your own experiences always makes this webinar valuable for everyone. So don't forget to do so. And join in the discussion, share your thoughts as we go through, or simply just pop in, say hello, and let us know where you're joining from today. Other than this, we also have polls that will be launched during the presentation to better your understanding. And please do, share your thoughts and perspectives there. Like always, this webinar is being recorded. We will share a link to the recording and the presentation via an email. You also have a valuable thought leadership gift from us as a parting asset that we provide to you to close the year. With that, I will now introduce our esteemed panelists that we have here on the call today with us. Tina Callisto, I start with you. She leads the instructional design function at Synovus Energy, spearheading enterprise-wide learning strategies and major initiatives, including global ERP and LMS rollouts. Certified in change management and adult education, Tina is passionate about leveraging creative and tech-enabled learning experiences that elevate workforce capability. Welcome, Tina, to the panel today. Right, next up, a seasoned learning architect with over 20 plus of years of experience, and that's Juan. Juan Otero designs innovative, evidence-based corporate learning and leverages AI tools to enhance personalization and engagement. He brings a 360 perspective from from his roles as a founder, a consultant, employee, and a contractor. He's a Learning Guild member since 2004, won a first place for Best Instructional Design at DevLearn's e-learning example for Emporium. So it's a privilege to have you also on the panel, Juan. Very,
Hel-
very, very warm welcome.
Hello, everybody. I'm pleased to be here.
All right, next up, we have Michelle, and she is a results-driven learning and development operations leader with deep experience in hospitality, higher ed, and retail. As a national L&D leader at Corpspread, she designs practical, evidence-based learning that drives business results and builds resilient people-first cultures. Michelle turns L&D into a business engine using the next gen LMS tech and AI tools to deliver adaptive and impactful learning. A mix of innovation, business sense, and just enough humor keeps her growth energizing. Michelle, it's a privilege and pleasure to have you with us today.
Happy
And
to be
finally,
here.
yes. And finally, I'm Soma Bhaduri. I come with over 20 years of experience in learning and performance consulting, and my focus is global learning strategies, workforce enablement, and performance ecosystem. My expertise lies in learning design with a proven track record of maximizing ROI for clients, enhancing performance, and org success. So, with that, we're going to head to listening or hearing about you and your thoughts. What do you think defined L&D success in 2025? We're eager to see what you have to say. Please do drop in your response in the chat while we proceed with the next topic and move on to the main content that we're here for today. So, Tina, I would come to you to really understand what learning actually worked in 2025. At the same time, we would also like to hear what our participants have to say today. A poll question will be coming up on your screens. We would request all the participants to please share your responses and let's see what we drive together.
Thank you, Soma. So for us, in 2025, we were really focused on transitioning that formal learning experience. Things like e-learning. We're heavy in e-learning, and we're trying to shift the dial to move that really towards social and experiential learning. So changing and moving from this one-time event to really embedding learning in the flow of work and making it accessible and available at the time of need, allowing people to go and find it when they need it, where they need it. And our hope is that we were going to foster a deeper engagement with learners. Our focus really is to put the power in the hands of the learner to really self-drive their own learning and performance developments. And so that was really our challenge. And we also wanted to build a better support system for performance support. So we all know that a learning event, you immediately forget what you've learned in those. Retention is very low, and we really wanted to improve that performance. And our shift and our evolution in our organization is really to try to build that support and measure through performance metrics versus just this how many people took a course. We really want to support the performance. So that's where we were going. And so we're building and trying to build to that next gen blended learning. So instead of just providing an e-learning, we're actually building nano learning and micro learning. We're embedding the ability and providing learning on platforms where people can go and learn something through a micro learning and then self-test to actually test their own learning and drive and understand what they need to learn and have the ability to go back and find that learning and actually do that themselves without the fear of having to take an exam and being tested on an exam. And we do still have those platforms. There will always be a need to have all the different types of learning based on the complexity of the skill that you're trying to train on. But that's really where our focus was. So we've just started that endeavor this year. And I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is why it worked. Key to our success really is having it leader driven and championed. And it really starts at the highest level of the organization. And so leaders are now empowering us to be able to change the culture of learning in our organization, where we're actually going to be moving, and this actually supports our performance model that we have here, which is 70-20-10. Everyone's pretty familiar with that. So it helps us support that, but really them buying into, yeah, we want to change the way we're learning. We really want to do support performance improvement. And this is the way to do it. So we actually worked with leaders. We had more visibility to our team. We worked with them to understand who we are, what we do, what the value of not only learning is within the organization, but how we can provide and support that. We're a very small team, and so we worked also with leaders with prioritizing what those initiatives are. And so I think that's the biggest challenge that we faced, which probably a lot of people face in organizations today. So that really led the way to our path of really on this path and this journey of changing and evolving learning. So we started small. This is what really worked for us. We started small. We took 2 scenarios. One was we piloted a smaller audience, but there was a little bit of reticence and resistance to changing the model. Most of the time we get requests that say, hey, we need e-learning. And our response is, hey, we want to help you do better than e-learning. And so it's just us collaborating with those business units to really understand that. And then we actually are working on another pilot, which is an enterprise-wide opportunity initiative with a really keen business owner who wants to do these kinds of things. So we're in the stages of understanding how this has worked. We've just launched one, so we're going to gather metrics and data, and this is going to be how we are going to show the organization that this is an effective way of learning. So we're still in that process. I would say the other reason it worked is because people want it, right? We always get complaints around, we don't want to sit in a seat for 40 minutes, 50 minutes, and then not be able to easily access the information we need at the time of need, especially for our field and operations folks who don't have the flexibility to be able to go and spend the time on, just in a training session or those kinds of things. So this is really working. They're able to go out there and get the information they need. They're in control, and they're asking for it. So that's really why it worked for us.
Yes, these are really, I think, most of the participants are people that are in the L&D space. I think these are common challenges, and it was really heartening to see, Tina, the points or the formats that you really brought up is what we actually saw, the blended approach being the most voted by in the poll that we just saw. Yeah.
Oh,
so it was 44%, and very close to that, followed by scenario based, which is typically,
yes.
I mean, so this tells us that people do need learning to be contextualized, to be meaningful, and of course you have micro learning, which I think people are now used to it. So that's it is there. But what really drove the impact we like we saw was the blended learning approach. And so, Tina, just to wrap the section up with you, what learning approaches why do you think certain approaches had higher retention this year? And did you see any other demanding sort of formats from your learners?
Yeah, and I didn't mention it, so I'm glad you brought the poll results up. But we did implement also scenario-based learning, and we also are implementing the ability to practice their skills. And so
Right.
Those are the things that I think people want. We give them the time and the space and the actual systems that they need to actually go out and practice these things. And then offer up the coaching around, what's happening and the ability to have that conversation with a mentor or somebody of that nature. So those are really the formats that I think we're working and that people are asking for. And for these reasons, right? They have limited time to spend on formal learning. They really want that at the moment of need, and they want to be able to develop. So we've actually developed learning paths. We're starting to develop learning paths, role-based role-based learning paths so that people can not only learn about what they do, but if they want to advance into another position or they want to move laterally to something else, they have the ability to go and find that information and learn on their own and again, control their own growth.
Yes, and I think this is very close to a leaders panel that I joined just yesterday, and it was very interesting to see how exactly what you mentioned here and what your organization sees at this point is what we're seeing in majority of the other industries, especially where you have the production and the non-production segments of people. It's the ask is very different. The way we provide learning is going to be very different, and I think it's a good sort of a highlight that we should bring in that people like you mentioned, the production shop floor sort of folks or the ones that are frontline employees really don't have the privilege of sitting and doing hours worth of training or learning, and if we do not intelligently meet their demands, which is probably the larger portion of our workforce, we're not really catering to them or their needs. Thank you, Tina. This was really, really insightful. Juan, did you have a thought that you wanted to share on this?
Yeah, in my case, I've been working for a cheese manufacturing company that has a presence around the world. And what in similarity to what Tina described, the performance support element has been present in our goals. Like really, the purpose is how do I help you to be better at what you do. But in terms of what we are doing, we were doing links toward more toward those small elements to the video, small videos that users get on demand. So we move away our attention from formal LMS solutions toward more learning portal solutions where users can think that they have their own Google page where they can find what they need at the moment that they need it. And that was our approach for 2025. And it was very interesting.
Brilliant. Michelle, any quick notes from your industry, which is very, very different?
Yeah, I mean, our environment's very, very isolated and different here, but for us, learning really sticks if it helps both our bakeries and our corporate support team actually solve real problems. So
Right.
whether it's a new campaign in the bakeries or rolling out a new system update at the support office level, we've really tried to move away from the training for training's sake and really focusing on that micro learning piece. But for our sake, because it very much is in the moment, we do focus a lot on that quick reference piece in that tool. And to Juan's point, that portal element, the real time sourcing in the moment, and that empowerment to be able to find the answer yourself is critical for us right now. It's our bakers want quick, actionable tips at 3 o'clock in the morning. So,
Yes.
it needs to be quick, ready, and accurate. And our office, they want resources that work on the fly too. So ultimately, I think relevance is everything for everybody, regardless of what industry you're in. I think that's what I'm hearing too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, lovely. And I think our participants may have the same thoughts as well. All right, wonderful section. We move to the next theme, which is all about. So we were talking about workplace and the nuances of workplaces and culture shifts. So a quick poll, all our participants, we encourage you to please take the poll question. What do you think influenced workplace culture the most in this year? And very interesting options, I must say. Okay, can we see the results, please? Wow. And that's a whopping 48% of people that feel technology change is what really influenced workplace culture. And of course, I cannot deny, with the very next factor being hybrid or remote, evolution. Juan, I come to you with my next question. Now, what do you think changed most about motivation, the performance expectations, or just the fact that how people showed up at work in 2025?
Well, again, I'm going to refer to this place where I was working for a few years. And 2025 was a very interesting year for sure, because there were some elements, even outside elements, that influenced people's reactions and people performance. One of them was going back to the office. When I joined that company, it was a remote, mostly everybody was working remotely, and it was expected that you were remotely, but that suddenly changed it and said, no, we are going back to the office. And that created a lot of noise. People were suddenly not satisfied. Some people couldn't get back to work. Uh, if you live far away, and it suddenly was a change point imposed on teams. But interestingly, after the initial shock, people got accepted it and got into going back to work and performing as before the pandemic. Because it's at least in our environment, we saw that the same way you started this acceptance of remote work, it was like a domino chain reaction, right? One company started to say, yeah, it's okay for people to work from home. And then the next one say, yeah, it's, they say, okay, it's okay with me. And everybody was working remotely. The same effect, but on the contrary, happened this year. Said, nope, I want everybody work at home, at the office. I want collaboration. I want people to interact. And suddenly all the companies started doing the same thing. The blended approach seems to be reasonable, and some companies keep it, some others don't. But that, for sure, that back to office have influenced a lot of the performance during this year. The other element I wanted to highlight was in our context, there was an ask from the very, very top about AI. From the CEO saying, hey, AI is coming and we want to jump into that wagon. Everybody gets into AI. That was very interesting. And then you see some teams jumping ahead and running, and others get very disoriented about what to do, how to do it, because there was no clear guidelines about how to do it. And it created some kind of stress on the training teams as well, because how do I help the organization to prepare for something that is evolving so fast? And not only that, but those teams that started to incorporate AI type of solutions into their workflows, suddenly they were not coming to us asking for courses anymore. Say, no, I don't need you. I have developed these solutions, and what I needed before, I don't need it anymore. I have developed my own kind of agent. So it has forced the training team to evolve very quickly to be able to answer to these new realities. How can I support you? You know, uh, I was around a few years ago when the the microcomputers came to town, and nobody knew how to use them. And historically, it took not that many years for the whole population to learn how to use a microcomputer, understand Windows for Apple or mouse and Windows, all that. So I think we are in a similar moment but the change is much faster. And people are learning through formal experiences, informal experiences, coaching, different way. So the whole corporation or organization is moving in a even chaotic ways, it could look like, but it's moving ahead in terms of understanding what that new technology can do for us and how to use it better. And the last point that I wanted to highlight in terms of culture is that in my settings, what I noticed is we are not at the same place. When I think in any organization, you have training teams, you have clients, a population they need to learn, but also you have the businesses where they identify the training needs and come to you to develop a solution. But these three groups might be in a very different places in terms of how to understand corporate learning, what works best. And what I noticed it is, especially some of the business areas where I used to work, were very traditional. Like, no, I want a course. I want a people in the classroom. I want to know because that's how I feel more secure. And that's what I know. So the selling of new approaches, even to get the ask from participants about new approaches, it's an interesting challenge for a corporation. The other element that it's kind of new for me is that learning in the flow of work, and it makes a lot of sense because in our context, again, we went from LMS traditional courses to portal and self serve solutions to now I don't want to even I don't want to think that this is a course. I just want something that helps me to perform better. And the good news is that tools are coming for us, training people, where we can start developing those little help features. I don't know even how to label them that could help employees to perform better. So I think it's very exciting times ahead of us.
Wonderful. I mean, you've touched upon a few things which are, absolutely necessary because workplace culture and learning can never be two separate identities, right? If you're trying to help our workforce through training and we're not really leveraging I would say technology or the ask being so different and the very many adaptations, the so many changes from working remote to now being asked, or rather the expectation being physically present at work to the way trainings change. All of this is, I would say, it's almost like a huge matrix of changes that an employee and the organization and the L&D teams sort of need to tackle together. Michelle, do you have any thoughts you wanted to share? Because yours is an organization or the workforce. You seriously don't have much of an opportunity to go work remote most of the times, is what I would.
That's right. AI cannot bake bread, not currently. For us, our culture really isn't built in the PowerPoint or in a Teams call. It's how we act every day. And whether that's behind a baker's bench or behind a laptop. For us in our bakeries, it's recognizing a team member who really nails a guest service interaction in the morning rush. In support office, it's how we respond to feedback or celebrate progress and how we work and adapt together to get to the solution. I think that the most powerful thing that we did at Cobb's Bread this year was making culture visible through programs like Bread Cred and recognition and recognizing in the moment and sharing real stories and those micro wins from across the network with everybody. It's been significant. And yeah, we are fairly different in that way because we bake fresh every day and we love that we do that. So Yeah.
Right. And yes, of course, the learning that one's organization or the way they would learn and the modalities, the formats that we push out to them to what Michelle's organization needs and the workforce needs, um, in many ways are similar. But of course, I mean, you have to now rethink of the formats that we were pushing things through. We never probably at one point thought that a podcast of a few seconds, or yeah, I'm saying a few seconds because we've done that, could become a learning asset, and a learning asset that is much appreciated by the end user than giving them a thorough description of how to do something in about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So I would say micro learning has also becoming passe, and we did see that as part of the poll chats. I mean, the poll results, if you noticed. Tina, is it the same or is it similar? Is there like what are your views on the workplace shift and culture changes?
Yeah, going back to something that Juan said just about in terms of adaptation by the workforce itself, is it's really a shift in the paradigm of how we learn, right? And so having those conversations around why this works, switching them up, because typically when we get requests for e-learning. That's what people think of immediately. And they're thinking of that because they're thinking, I don't have enough time and resources to, conduct an in-person session. So my first thought is I'm just going to create an e-learning where people can go and watch this thing and checkbox. Now they know what they're supposed to know. And so it's just changing the paradigm of how we do learning. So it's really those conversations, which is slow, right? You have to go out, you have to make the effort to meet with people, you have to talk about it, you have to show your wins, and so that's kind of where those challenges are. I would also say adaptation changes are also with the tools that you have available to you in your organization, and so we're always trying to reduce the cost and the spend on things. And so we have to get really creative about what are those critical tools that we use internally and how can we find tools that have multi-purpose, right? That aren't just one thing. And so acquiring those, but then also the challenge of getting the budget and making the business case. And so we've gotten creative, and so our platform is SharePoint, right? So we have to try to figure out how do we serve up this content in SharePoint where it's easily digestible and where it's meaningful. So yeah, I think those are the challenges that we really face.
Yes, and Tina, I think the audience so resonate with what all of us are saying, because if you see, technology seems to have been the biggest sort of when we went for the poll questions, that came up as the first, I would say, hindrance or challenge or whatever people were thinking about. So yes, I mean, you have a whole bunch of technology that's available for creating learning, for disseminating learning platforms, and you have the more, the next gen sort of modalities, like you have your immersive ARs and VRs or a mixed reality. And no matter which industry, I mean, you could always leverage those to sort of up your game in the learning and development space. But what we also need to understand is that almost every organization, especially 2025, and even the year before, does have a bit of a budget and a finance sort of an approval. I would say it's a bit stringent than what it was due to the geopolitical conditions and what's happening in the global economy, and that also impacts how we need to think or reimagine how L&D needs to take training back to people most easily. Simple options like a SharePoint-based learning, and how can that become more effective? How could you bring in that experience which you would have otherwise done using probably some fancy tool which is more expensive, or a platform that is you could gamify stuff, or you could bring in an app, but how do you give a similar kind of experience that's most impactful with these, like something like a SharePoint, and we innovate. I think that's where we are heading to. So thank you, panelists. I move to the last and the final theme for us, which is AI in learning, real wins, but real limits as well. We'll start this with a quick poll. The participants, if you may, please respond to our poll question. Where did you see AI delivering the most value? And interestingly, you have a few options here, which at one point, as an L&D professional, we all thought could not be done, at least through something like an AI. Okay. Can we have the poll results up, please? Quite predictable, isn't it? Content development, that's where, and I think all of us, being from the L&D fraternity, we could so relate. So content development was possibly the most impactful area, I would say, where we saw AI really deliver some valuable results. The other part was, yes, analytics and insights. So these agile dashboards that we've built for a lot of our customers to help them, see, view, understand, and so on. All right. So with that, I come to you, Michelle. Where did you see AI genuinely save time, cost, effort? And where did you see it really fall short of expectations?
Yeah, we saw AI in 2025 as a bit of a force multiplier, ultimately. What once took us weeks for drafting communications, storyboards, building nudges, mapping workflows, it happens in hours now. The speed didn't just boost our efficiency, I'll say, it genuinely gave our teams back time so that they could coach and problem solve and lead. And that's a huge win, is being able to get that time back. We really saw some cost savings and an elimination of a ton of work friction because of it as well. But I think the bigger win was really freeing up our team's capacity for the work that's truly going to move the needle, both in our support office and at our bakeries. Where AI hit a wall, and again, we're fairly unique in that we are retail and that we bake fresh every day on site, and then we donate to local charities. So we rinse, repeat, recycle every day. And so anywhere where nuance mattered really is where we hit a wall, where coaching, performance feedback, anything that really relied on empathy or deep context, I'll say,
Yeah.
we would lean too much into and depend too much on automation, and it felt hollow. Again, AI, it can't read a bakery production sheet or tell if a loaf is ready to go at 2 a.m. Nor can AI feel that same pressure of a Saturday sales rush as a brand new 17-year-old team member that just started.
Yeah.
So that's human territory, and that's going to stay that way for a long time. And I feel very comfortable in saying that because AI is a huge force multiplier, but it can't replace. When it comes to that humanization piece, I think, as I mentioned previously, our biggest moments didn't come from the chatbots or from LMS or any automation piece. They happened live. They happened in the moment. Again, whether it was a leader coaching during a real challenge or a team member sharing their story, like that's what really sticks in our environments. And I feel like that's what really sticks in most humanistic environments, whether it's support office or retail space. Yeah, that AI gave us really that structure and that space to be able to build that trust and that psychological safety I think that the true adaptation, they're still uniquely human. You can't automate belief, inspiration, or the ability to connect context to real work. And that shows, and it really comes back to our values and our mission statements that everybody that works at Cobb's Bread truly believes in. Yeah, I genuinely believe that, like at the end of the day, AI enables us, but leadership and mentorship and meaningful human connection are where that transformation is actually going to happen. And I might be very bold in saying this, but I believe that it always will. I think it's a phenomenal tool, but those human connections are where the transformation happens.
Right. I wouldn't, I mean, I would 100% agree with you, Michelle. And while we do see, and we ourselves have built bots, or we've built avatars that are actually able to give you coaching during your moments of, quick practice, like especially the area that we saw with a huge uptake was sales,
Sure.
where you had sales training, and you actually were allowed to practice. And we've had our AI sort of, I mean, very, very fancy. Your webcam actually scans your retina, your facial expressions, and that's how AI has been designed to say, okay, did you do a perfect pitch? Did you not? Was your tone and pitch the way it should have been? And so on. And you get a real-time coaching or a feedback. And we've done that for some customers. But that I would say is more like, it's your interim, I would say, support. It's a quick support, which otherwise you may or may not have had if you were waiting for a leader or a mentor, or learning in the moment of need is what we were all talking about. So that's possibly what it can. But long term, really making an impact, yes, we need a human, or a human in the loop, like we say, for all our requirements. Tina, did you see anything different in your space when it comes to AI as an enabler, or the humanization part of it?
No, exactly the same. I'll just reiterate what Michelle said. We also found, I mean, it is definitely a powerful enabler. Hours and hours of research, learning needs assessments has been a big impact, where we can really scale down how long it takes to do something. It's great because you often find information that you didn't have before, which actually enhances that whole content building. So I would say I agree with that. And interestingly, what I found, and this is specifically in building learning needs assessments, when I built them and I went to AI, I had and then I tested them out with the business, we got pretty close, 80 to 90% relevance to their business and their world. But there is that 10 to 20%, as Michelle was saying, where it's you need to connect with the context of it. You do need to bring in the human element of it. So really just we have exactly the same situations.
Right. I haven't seen any specific Q&A, or I mean, anybody dropping a question for us in the Q&A section, but I could see so many, active chat sort of questions and messages. I got one just the moment I said I did not. So Juan, let me just put this question up for you. What should learning leaders around the world prioritize next year if they want to stay ahead rather than react late? Though this is our upcoming section, but why don't I just have you say what you want to?
Well, I think the biggest challenge for us in this profession is we need to open our minds, because I think that best training solutions that are coming in the next few months or few years, we can't even imagine them, how they look right now, because AI is here to stay, and we can see how it expands every day and reaches more and more into our businesses. And we need to break with fixed molds or with fixed structures and be open to experiment, try, and learn how to use all these new opportunities in the best way possible to satisfy our corporate needs in terms of training. I think that's the biggest challenge. Be open, experiment, try, apply.
Right, right. And I did see somebody also posting a question in the chat. I think it's Eric who said, with so many tools introduced this year, what helped teams use AI in a steady, useful way instead of getting lost in experimentation? So if I may take a dab at that. Well, we had many tools introduced, and AI did hop in at least about 2 years back, if I may say so. 24 was more of the experimentation phase, and people getting settled in with the way they used AI. But what I think how we progressed and very well progressed, especially in the learning and development area, is where we learned how to harness the power of AI. We really took AI as an enabler, like Michelle and Juan or Tina mentioned, and we've actually taken that and we've progressed on that. So we've not just done prompting, but we've gotten better at prompt engineering. We've given context, so we've done context engineering, and that way we've actually been able to harness, I would say, the power of AI to do some of those, to ideate, to sort of bring forth the easy research factors, which as an instructional designer myself, or anything to do with learning design, where you really, really need to gain a lot of knowledge in a matter of minutes. You get that now. You have a lot to bounce your ideas off, and I think that these are the ways in which we really didn't get lost, I would say. Plus there are different I would say benefits of every tool. So AI, I mean, it is meant to help. I wouldn't say replace ever, but it is meant to enable, and that's what it has been able to do for people that have been able to leverage, and especially L&D. Any one of you has a different view on that, or anything else that you'd want to add?
I would like to add something. I just came back from a learning conference where thousands of people attended to that conference, and what I saw at the expo is that the tools, they are starting to look very similar to each other. They are starting to offer very similar features, AI features. So as Soma was saying, I wouldn't stress too much about, am I using the right tool? I would emphasize in, let me do the best use I can with what I have, because there's so much that you can do with good prompting. So much to learn that space, that spending too much time finding the best tool, I don't think that will be the best investment of your time.
Right. Tina or Michelle, did you have something that you wanted to?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Juan. I think there's a lot of tools and there's a lot of ways to use tools together, is what I've also heard at a bunch of different conferences recently. But ultimately, I think for us, specifically at Cobbs, Brad, is going to be, in my world, 2026 is the year where we stop asking, did they finish the training? And start asking, did it change what they do? Did it make an impact? That's the real measure. And so for me and for us, it's double downing on that culture where everyone, where it's bakeries and our support office teams, feel that they belong and can speak up, and ask questions and not be afraid to say, how does that tool work and how can it help me? Because there's a lot of fear around these tools. There's a lot of fear of adaptation and utilizing them,
Yeah.
but that comes from the unknown and not knowing what you don't know. So a piece for me is really taking that step back to, I think it was Eric's question, for that workforce readiness piece, and really making sure that we're equipping our teams to adapt quickly, but to the new products, the tech, and to our customers' expectations ultimately. So I don't think agility is optional anymore. It's a bit of survival in 2026.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be one of the main focuses, is making sure we have that governance and that clarity on how to use it, why to use it, and what's the impact. I'm not going to keep asking, did they finish the training? I'm going to measure the impact. Yeah.
That's so true. That's so true. Tina?
Yeah, I'll just answer this more from a technical perspective in terms of how do we deploy training and what are the tools that we use. So in our case, our mission was, because we did get caught up in that, right? There's a lot of things we wanted to do, and so we had to really think about it from a practical perspective. Because again, going back to, we didn't have a lot of money to spend on a lot of tools, so we actually chose a tool that could do a lot of the things for us that was AI enabled. And we actually were able to get rid of some of the other tools that we have that maybe were specifically for audio, audio generation, right? Text to speech generation. So we looked at tools that had that embedded in it, along with being able to develop content, AI generated content as well. So that's just from a practical perspective. Look at the tools and kind of scale it back to a tool that does a lot of things that you can experiment with.
Right, and a very important point that you touched upon. When it comes to tools, it is also one of the things that we do realize is there are tools that help you ease inclusivity. Ease your learning into inclusivity very easily. So the localization or the translations that we talk about, which is a very, very common feature if you want to make learning inclusive, if you want to make learning global. There are very, very, I would say, dependable and excellent quality sort of tools that can help you do AI, translate or translations using AI. The quality is, from our results, we've seen at least close to a 95% accuracy, if not more in some cases. The other thing that it also does is the accessibility aspects. There are tools that help you sort of bring in the basic accessibility measures, so you know that you're creating learning that can be accessed and used by everyone, by all, which is also the purpose, right? So yes, good discussions, and so 2026 priorities, we all pretty much spoke about all of these aspects. As the final sort of, I would say, closure, if I were to ask all three of you to pick one from here, which would that be? And I start with you, Michelle.
I would say culture and belonging for us at this time.
Okay, all right. For you, Tina?
I would say learning effectiveness, and really moving from just thinking about content delivery to building capability.
All right. And for you, Juan?
I will repeat what Tina said. I will also choose learning effectiveness.
Wonderful. So our expert panelists have learning effectiveness and culture and belonging as their topics. Of course, with that, I do also feel if I were to choose one in 2026, I would also pick workforce readiness because of the amount of change that we are seeing. We have the wonderful mix of generational learners. So we have some that are brand new, learn very differently, want to be ready in a very different way, have aspirations straight off, know what they want to do, and want learning that equip them to move ahead, and fulfill their aspirations. We have the other half, or I would say, the workforce that is also going to have to be catered to, and they have to be made ready with, the organizations or industries would adapt in future. So my pick is also, of course, I mean, all of these are important, but workforce readiness. And just to lightly touch upon that, leadership development, I think that's where, it is one of those areas which is much different than the rest of the learning, sort of, I would say, range that we talk about, because leaders, they could be your frontline managers or leaders, they could be your very, very senior leaders that need that are, facing the heat of all the strategic changes and decisions they're having to make, to, of course, deal with the very, very dynamic workforce, the other aspects that bring in from there. So the is where, again, tools, technologies, yes, but the process and mechanism also needs to be thought through very differently. All right, I think very good discussions. We had a very active chat group, messages on the chat, questions, and it was heartening to see that. Like we promised at the very beginning, all of you that have registered and participated in our webinar today, we have a thought leadership piece that we offer you, and it will reach you when you get the recordings as well as the presentation from our site. This is the research brief that has been created by Brandon Hall Group for us, and all of this talks about CLO priorities for 2026. How do you balance performance, people, purpose, and technology? This is a good read. Do take the time to go through that, and I'm sure you will find it much valuable. With that, we thank you for participating. We thank you for being such wonderful participants, active, engaging. And I also thank my panelists who've really given us wonderful insights today. Together, we're ready now, I feel, equipped, much more intelligent, and I would say, almost we look forward in a few more days. We're heading into 2026, and we'd want to do that looking forward together. We thank you for your time, and it's been a pleasure to host this webinar today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, all of
very
you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.